Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. As you are popping on, say hello. You know who's out there joining me. I'm a little early today, but better early than late, right? So, who's with us? Hello, Linda, Barbara. Hi. Hello, hello. Everybody enjoying their Tuesday? How are you feeling, Barbara? Better? Hey, Lois. As you can see by the screen. Hey, Mary. I know it's Mary. Mary. You're writing your name in your comment, Mary. As you can see by the screen, we are going to talk about the new colors of Distress Embossing Glaze. It's always fun. It's a fun one. Scrappy Chic has all the new colors in and is offering the 12 newest colors in a bundle that saves you 15%, which is an awesome deal. I had to have them all, and I got a deal. Oh, it doesn't get any better than that. So, we'll give it another minute. Tell me a story. I don't know. Hey, Marilyn. But that is what we're going to use today. I am starting to get really excited because this weekend are the classes with Dina Wakely, 4 classes. So I am super excited for that. My niece is actually going to take one of the classes with me too. I'm excited for Dina to meet her. So, hey Janice, hello and welcome. Gabrielle, hello, hello. So yeah, I actually packed my bag today with all the supplies that I needed for the 4 classes. So I'm excited. Mary, are you asking which class McKenna's taking? I signed her up for the composition and abstract art or whatever one is Saturday afternoon. She's working in the morning and then she will take the class. Yes, Linda, there still are a few seats available in all of the classes. You can go on the website and see. If you go to the main Scrappy Chic Livonia page, www.scrappychiclivonia.com, there is a tab specifically for the Dina Wakely classes. Click on that. There's a little description. It'll take you to the pages, or you can just go to the class calendar, and all of the classes are listed for the 22nd and 23rd. But yeah, there are 4 awesome classes, and I do believe that there are at least a couple seats in some of the classes and more in the others. So if you would like to join us, please do. Okay, so I blabbed on and now it's 7:01. So what we are going to talk about today, as I said, are the 12 new colors of Distress Embossing Glaze, which I kind of have laid out here. These are the ones I'm going to use. This is Pumice Stone, which I am excited about because I really like Lost Shadow because it's a real gray, but Pumice Stone is kind of a browny gray, so if you're using it with browns, it tends to take on more of those warm brown colors, so it's a fun color to work with. And this one that I'm going to use also is Crushed Olive. All right, those are the 2 we're going to use, but the other colors are Bundled Sage, Seedless Preserves, Mermaid Lagoon, Peacock Feathers. Mermaid Lagoon and Peacock Feathers are 2 of my favorites. Chipped Sapphire, Spiced Marmalade, Aged Mahogany, Abandoned Coral, another of my favorite colors, Mowed Lawn, and Squeezed Lemonade. Now this is a sample that I did to show you. This is Seedless Preserve. So it is one of the darker colors in the new. So there's the Seedless Preserves, the Aged Mahogany, and the Chipped Sapphire are more on the darker side. But I did want to show you that they are not as translucent, but they are still translucent. So this is one of those weavings that I showed last week. It's all white, and then I sprayed and inked and then stamped it a little bit. But if you can see here, if you look, you can still see the stamping through the embossing, which is, you know, the main benefits of these glazes is that they're translucent and you can still see through them. So this is a sample that I did while I was deciding what we were going to do. So this is using the glaze through a stencil with embossing ink. It is one of the techniques that we didn't do, I don't think, when we were talking about embossing powders the last time, but Mr. Holtz was talking about it in his live. It was one of the things that he was doing. So I thought that would be a good one to talk about since we've got all these new colors. Now, I did these tags, I added a little bit of color to them, but these tags were from one of the very first original technique talks where we talked about using distress ink to age and rough up your edges and distress them. So I took these two tags and I added some color to them. Sorry, I'm gonna watch comments and talk to you. So if I stop talking, it's because I'm reading comments and, you know, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So, hey, Marianne, Linda. Oh, that would be nice if you came down. It is 3 hours is a drive, but let me tell you, it is well worth it to come down and take one of Dina's classes. So I do recommend it. Okay. Okay, so I added fossilized amber, cracked pistachio, and broken china. And then this one is broken china. It does have a tiny bit of cracked pistachio and a little bit of fossilized amber. So what I did was I built up some layers, and that is the benefit of using the translucent glaze, embossing glaze, because it helps you to build your layers. Now we've done, or I demoed and then I added more, but we have several layers on this already. The first thing that I did was I distressed the edges of this tag and then inked around and then used water to age it. And then they sat there, probably, I was looking back to see when we did that one. Hey, Renee, and it was almost a year ago that we did that demo. So I dug these tags out of the pile that I keep of all the things that we do. And then I took some ink and I smooshed it and sprayed it down, and I added some color. Then I took this awesome background stamp from Hero Arts and did a little bit of stamping for another layer. So that is 3 layers of techniques so far on this tag. We are going to add the 4th layer for the background, and who knows, I might call it a day, I might not. But the first thing that we are going to do is select a color that kind of coordinates with the scheme that you've got going on. Since this one has a little bit more green in it, I chose the crushed olive, but I might be changing my mind now and using bundled sage, because I'm allowed to change my mind, right? So what I am going to do is, there's a couple of ways too that you can apply, and this is a coming soon stencil from Stuff by Belle. I'm still testing it out here. There's a couple of different ways that you can put down your embossing ink when you're using a stencil. And the way that I usually do it is I just take the pad, which I am using the Wow embossing powder because this is ultra slow drying. Tim gave a really good explanation of embossing powder or embossing ink in his demo of all of the embossing powders, and because it's a thicker ink, it's got glycerin in it, any embossing ink is slow drying. Gives you a little bit more time to get the powder down and do the things so that you don't have to worry about rushing before it dries. But this one from Wow is ultra slow drying, so it just gives a little bit more time than normal. So anyway, the first way is you can just take your ink pad and smush it through your stencil. All right, that's typically the way I work because, well, it's easy. The other thing you can do is use your ink blending tool with a sponge on it. I just grabbed one. This happens to have the domed one. And then I will keep this one for embossing ink. And you can ink just the way that you would normally ink when you're using your embossing tool. Now, when you're doing this technique, you can be very even and specific, or you can be very random and not specific. And that is typically how I roll. So I am just going to dab more ink in some places and less in the other, and I just happen to have, excuse my reach, a piece of paper here ready for our, oh sure, I choose the one that I didn't open yet. I try to be prepared and then I change my mind. See what happens? All right. Just do some pouring here, and that's why I put the paper down, so as I pour, we can put the excess embossing powder back into our jar. Of course, there's always an opportunity that I'm gonna spill, so. Look at that, I didn't spill. Woohoo! Okay, so now you can see where the embossing powder is, and we are going to heat it up now and watch the magic happen. I am going to try to use my embossing gun, but my cord is stuck, sorry. Hopefully you can still hear me while this is going. We'll see if we can't get this up to the camera so you can watch how quickly the embossing powder starts to melt. Let's see, can you see it? Trying to have it so you can see it and not burn my fingers. I should be using my handle it tool. All right, so there is the bundled sage, which is one of the lighter colors, but look at how you can still see the text that's stamped back there. You can see the other ink behind it. It's not exactly the same color, obviously, because you've got a green on top of it, but you do see the pattern. So it really does add another dimension to your layers. All right. That is that one. Now I'm going to try pumice stone to see what happens when we use that color. And on this one, I am going to smush the ink pad on like I would usually do. That tape is not very tapey, is it? Very technical term. Tapey, not very tapey. All right, let's try again. How about that? There we go. All right, so I'm just going to, and I'm not going to turn it and rub it. I'm just going to basically pounce, like with the pouncers, and pounce some embossing ink on there. All right. We'll get our paper back over here. Oh, for crying out loud. I didn't open the pumice stone either. I'm fired. I'm firing myself. Pour generously. Yeah, and the reason, of course, that you can pour generously is because you've remembered to put your paper under here. And you can take all this excess gorgeousness, put it right back into the jar. And hold on a second, I want to wipe off the embossing ink because when it starts to dry in here, it gets gooey. We don't want a gooey stencil. You know, I don't usually clean up too much, but embossing ink and pastes are ones that I usually do clean up because they, well, get gooey and build up. Could mess up your stencil. Okay. Here we go again. I see you, Mary, saying that you have space at your house for this stencil. You'll be able to acquire it soon. Okay, so this is the pumice stone. So can you see how I was saying that gray, when you put it with browns and neutral tones, warm neutral tones, it kind of takes on a little bit of a brownish color, a brownish gray, but it just really is nice that it changes a little bit depending on what you're putting it with, excuse me. But you still can see the text through there. You can see the various spots and splatters that were on there before. Same with this one. So this is another technique to add to your arsenal. Good for all sorts of projects. I try to do techniques that you can use on all sorts of things, cards, layouts, mixed media, home decor, all the things. But just another thing to remember when you're creating, what you can do to add another layer to your art. Okay. And don't forget, if you missed it at the beginning, Scrappy Chic does have all 12. You can buy them individually if you don't need all the colors. But if you buy all 12, which are all the new colors that came out, it is a bargain. You do get 15% off of the price if you're buying the bundle. So that's a great savings on a brand new product. So make sure you get in and get your Distress Embossing Glazes. And Tim also, if you watched his video or plan to, he did have a good explanation as to why he called it a glaze when it really is just an embossing powder. So he gives really great information. I have to watch the the replay in chunks because it sometimes is long, but I learn so much when I watch them. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap this one up? No? I'll give it a minute. I don't know what the delay is like today. Hope everyone had a fantastic Tuesday. And like I said in the beginning, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, there still are a couple of seats in the Dina Wakely classes, so I hope you'll join us for some fun. Dina's always fun. She's a great teacher and loads of fun. All right. Well, I don't see any questions, so guess what? I'm going to call it a night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And make sure you're watching our Facebook page because lots of new product is coming in. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.